All right, here we are, take two. See if the sound's any better as the live feed starts. And I know there's like an 8-second delay or something, so it'll be a while before somebody can hear and hear if my voice is okay. It seems a little out of sync with the lips, so if this doesn't work, we will go to a different device this morning and see how that goes. So just waiting to get some feedback. Lawrence McElroy here, killing time and waiting to see if my voice is back to its usual self. And the second attempt to start this morning. Okay, there's the first okay. So I'm guessing that worked. That's 2 weeks in a row. I've done a test like 20 minutes before I went online, and both times everything was copacetic at the test, and then I go live at 10 a.m. and the world falls apart. Not going to go there. So anyway, so here we are. It is another Monday. As I was saying before we had the voice controversy of June 8th, 2020. And as always, this is for the greater community because it's going live on our public Facebook page. But, especially for those folks in the Sachem Public Library program whose program has been suspended since early March. And, going to continue to be suspended for a while. That's the first bit of news. I heard from the library last week, and which is still currently closed until further notice. But they have extended their official suspension and cancellation of public programs through the month of August. So the summer is gone as a possibility for the, exploring restarting the public Tai Chi class at Sachem Public Library. So we are here on Monday mornings live through the summer. Technical issues aside, we're here on Monday mornings. There used to be an offering at 10:15. Another live session for our suspended West Babylon library program. However, that program has gone remote starting last week, so there's no live session on Tuesday mornings any longer. Sorry about that, folks. But it's just the way things are. So there's that. A couple other announcements. Let's see what there were a couple of things. What was it? Oh yeah, if you are a member. Not former, but current member of the Sachem Public Library program. In other words, if you were in the program when it was suspended, if you're on the roster and that sort of thing, and haven't heard, there's a little sort of private bonus for you. If you haven't heard about that, if you haven't been sent the appropriate link, reach out in another venue. So Facebook message to Water Tiger School page, a Facebook message to the Laoshi Lawrence McElroy page, or drop me an email directly. And I'll bring you up to date with what that bonus is for participants of the Sachem Public Library program. So by the way, Steve and Rich, thank you for your feedback on the first attempt at going live. Good morning to both of you as well. Good morning, Linda. So what we are going to do this morning, seems like there was something else. I don't know what it was. Maybe it'll come to me. This is why I tend to use little cue sheets taped all over behind the camera, but I didn't do that this morning. 10 o'clock creeped up pretty quickly. That last 30 minutes before 10 o'clock creeped up pretty quickly. We're going to do a little warm up. Something I don't think any of you have probably seen before. And it's actually a little homage to the source of this week's shirt. It's a new shirt for me. Fame is lame. So if you're a regular on the page, you know that through the last week, I think we're at like week 11, Water Tiger School has been sharing posts from Tony Horton of P90X, P90X2, P90X3, and et cetera, Beachbody fame initially. Now Tony Horton Life. He and his wife have been doing a series of live sessions on their own. And every Wednesday is, it's really a mixed aerobics and resistance training set, but it's Plyo Wednesday. And a few weeks ago, he mentioned he was wearing this shirt, and he said, hey, you know, we have these available. We thought they'd sell on the website. They didn't. So if you want one, reach out. So I did. So I have a famous lame t-shirt from Tony Horton. Anyway, he is the source of this morning's warm-up. And that warm-up comes to us from one of his workouts. He did a one-on-one series where it's just him, the cameraman, and his home gym. This is from the first volume. I believe it's the second disc. I looked at it just before we went online. Yeah, it's the second disc of the first volume of one-on-one. It's a workout called Recovery for Results. So that's going to be our warm-up. We're going to do the warm-up, and then we're going to spend some time focusing on something that Water Tiger really believes is very, 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 did I mention very, important aspect of our personal training and our personal play in Tai Chi. And that is single moment practice. Note the accent, the emphasis on moment. We'll get to what that means after our warm-up. So here we go. I'll move my yoga block that I've been sitting on, get another drink, get my iPhone so I can have a timer. I'm going to start with a little march, but it's different than other marches that we have done. And then do a little stretch. So sort of a whole body warm up. Brief, not too long. First part's going to be timed. So I have to hit the right button. There we go. Set that down. We're going to begin with a little march. Not a lot of arm movements to start with, but just sort of bring the hands toward the knees. So you're going left and right as you march. Going to pick up the pace a little bit. Get some breath, some blood flowing. You go for a full 30 seconds here. Oh my God, he's trying to kill us. And now for the second 30, I'm going to reach higher, bring the knees higher if I can, and move a little slower. Breathing, relaxing, and releasing. Don't overextend the arms, don't overextend the shoulders. Careful with your balance. Just 10 seconds. We get a little ballistic bounce before we finish by moving into the stretch sequence. And then just a little ballistic bounce, maybe some huggers, left over right, right over left. Breathing. I got my breath going this morning. All right. So something different for those who are familiar with our standing side stretch, and do a little bit wider stretch because of what else we're doing. We're going to keep the feet a little bit wide. So we're going to start with a reach up and over. Note straight arm here, fingertips to hip, right? Turning the chin into the biceps. If you're really supersonic, flexible, you can get your chin on the outside. Find an exhalation, inhale up, exhale over to the other side. Turning the chin into this bicep. No joints here, no bent arm, right? That's wrong. Some people do the standing side stretch that way. And I'm not saying they're wrong in doing it that way. That's a different approach than I want here. Now, both arms up. Plug the fingers in the sky, turn the palms forward. I know you can't see, but my palms are forward. Now reach behind you, a little yawning stretch. Elbows, hands back. Come back up. Over to the first side. Side stretch 2. Breathing. Exploring the stretch on the exhale. Right? Again, nice straight line here. Inhale up. Exhale to the other side. Other hand just down here. No real weight on that leg. Couple more breaths. Inhale up. exhale, squat, little prayer hands, knee, same direction as toes, little tapas stretch, palms up, arms straight, thumbs back. Turn to the front, up, parallel the feet, reach up, swan dive down, back straight here, arms out. You can do the washing windows version of the dive, and then collapse into your white leg hamstring stretch. I didn't warn you that this was coming, so if you need to take a moment, grab a chair, grab a yoga block, so you have that, or just support hand on the knees. Remember, if you're not supposed to bend below your hips, then stay here. If you're not supposed to lower your chest below your hips, then stay here. Otherwise, let yourself come into it. By the way, our Water Tiger Schools YouTube production, a few breaths here, maybe a little swing, maybe just a little gentle press into it, maybe just hanging out. But 2 Thursdays ago, YouTube production was turning up the intensity on this particular stretch. So you might want to check it out on Water Tiger School's YouTube channel. Find an exhalation. We're going to do something we don't usually do with white leg hamstring stretch. We're going to reverse the swan dive. So on the inhale, head up first, strong back, strong legs, straight arms, up, prayer hands, back down. And there's the warm-up. So pretty simple, little march with a little, arm movement in 2 different levels, a mixture of side stretches and what we call the yawning stretch, or the expansion compression, chest, shoulder, back stretch, and a little what seems to be known as a tapas stretch. Not sure why that is. Maybe somebody invented it at a keg party. I don't know. So, single moment practice. What does that mean? Well, many people tend to, just sort of, if they're having a particular issue or something, they play the form and, the form of their walking exercise. Oh, I'll work on that moment when I get to it. Well, take the 24, for example. If you're playing the 24 at what should be performance space, that should be somewhere between 7.5 minutes from beginning to end. Say your issue is with settling into Pei Pa, which is done once in 7.5 minutes. That means if that's where your little glitch is, that working it in the form, you have an opportunity, if you just do form after form after form after form after form after form after form, playing that moment once every 7.5 minutes, give or take. Is that the best use of your time? There's a saying in the martial arts, I believe attributed to the Chinese martial arts: I do not fear the 10,000 kicks that you know. I fear the one kick you have practiced 10,000 times. You get a lot more benefit by pulling things out and working that single moment. Notice it's single moment, not single posture, right? Not single walking exercise, but single moment. For example, one of my favorite moments to explore the idea of the child on the swing, to explore the idea of the bounce in the play, is the moment of transition between the end of posture of ward off in Water Tiger School's lineage and roll back. So I'm not talking about playing this and this, and then maybe coming back in and holding the ball, and then doing this and roll back, and then coming back into holding the ball. That's sort of a single posture, or actually 2 posture practice. What I'm talking about is settling into that moment, right? Settling into that moment. Playing, we need to get into better on knees position here. and how that extension becomes the next beginning of the next posture. So left, ward off, is only available once in the 24. Now, if you're doing something that's like Water Tiger School has a form, grasp sparrow's tail to the 4 cardinal directions, which runs about 5.5 minutes, and in which you could do that 4 times in the 5.5 minutes. But that's 4 times in 5.5 minutes. How many times have I done that little exchange and played that moment while I'm here? Like 6, 7, 8, 9 times in 10, 15, 20 seconds. So you can play with those very detailed moments and really build your experience with them, and then sort of let that experience go through. I was talking the other day to a student. It's another end of posture moment. I was giving a student a little bit of a headache. Oops, I want to go this way. And it's Water Tiger Schools, the end of posture for Fair Lady Weaves at Shuttles. Now, some of you who aren't, haven't gotten this deep into the 24, if you're in one of our studio style programs, either Sachem or West Babylon, or, you're in the form to date in another program, you may not have this under your belt within the context of the form. But if you participate in other things, Water Tiger School, we have an exercise that we do. Hey, that wouldn't be a bad choice for one of these little workshops that we're doing on Monday morning, called 3 ball play. And it's how 3 postures all start in the same place: holding the ball, moving into Parting the Wild Horse's mane, holding the ball, moving into ward off, and holding the ball, moving into Fair Lady Weaves at Shuttles. And the end of our Fair Lady of Shuttles, let's say it's a left 4 stance. So again, just a review for Water Tiger School. Width of shoulders. The drop of the shoulder splits the heels in half. So this would be my shoulder width. To get into our 4 stance, we turn the back foot out, and if we're in what Water Tiger refers to as a left 4 stance, the left foot is forward in our forward moving stance. We turn the right foot out by turning on the heel, not the ball of the foot, because that makes me inside of shoulder width. Turning on the heel. So the foot's around a 45. Why around a 45, Lao Shi? Well, 45 is ideal, but not everybody can be comfortable with the foot at the 45. Then the left foot, staying on its side of those parallel lines, steps forward. The end of our posture for Fair Lady Weaves at Shuttles, we're holding the ball. This hand starts sort of as an underhand pitch and then becomes a whip to become a strike. And we're in this position, turning sideways. So both hands pushing the palms and settling the wrists. Sort of, I don't know if you can see what I'm seeking to do, but there's this like sphere in which I am encased that only goes a little bit below the hips. And those hands match the surface of the sphere. Now, I mentioned both hands are pushing the palm and settling the wrists. So you have that. But if the arms are activated in exactly the same way in pushing the palms and settling the wrists, that ain't it, kids. Right? Or if your hands and arms are just out there because, Lawrence said that's where the hands and the arms are supposed to be, and you're just putting them there, that ain't it either. But this hand is a block. This hand and arm is a block. A punch is coming in. I'm coming in underneath of it, deflecting it up into the side, turning their body, and striking into the rib cage. So the 2 arms at that end of posture have very different feelings, because this arm and this hand is activating as a penetrating strike. This arm is activating, rolling from the initial contact on more or less the side to the top of the forearm, which has a lot more boniness and solidity in its structure, and rolling it to sort of the soft underbelly of the forearm. You still want the hard to be soft, but you also want the soft to be hard in that block for sticky energy and that sort of thing. So that activation, very linear in the penetration here, very rounded, and the emphasis is in the arm, not the hand, though again, both hands are pushing the palm and settling the wrist. So you do a left fair lady and a right fair lady in the 24, but again, you only get to play with both of those moments once in 7.5 minutes. Whereas hanging out here and playing with that moment and really committing time to it. Now, I'm doing a lot of examples here. I am breaking my own sort of structure with how to do a single moment practice. Let me tell you, many times on the mat and sometimes in the room, when I sort of press people in this direction to do a single moment practice, I give them the assignment. You know, it's like, oh, you should play that moment. Okay, you understand that moment, now play it. Really settle in and take some time with it and feel what it's like to feel, explore it, really get your mind and your body wrapped around it. I give them that assignment. Now, if it's in the studio, that means I have my clipboard nearby, which I do have the clipboard in the public classes, but I don't make as many notes during class in the public classes as I do in the studio classes. And say I give that person, you know, the instruction. Different environment now. We're remote. We're not in 3D at this time on Long Island in New York. By the time I get to my clipboard and I turn around, they're doing something else. That isn't enough time. I'm happy when I see somebody for an entire class. We detail opening. And the next, for the entire rest of the class, they're playing with these different moments. Now, they may not just stay with the whole class for that drop of the hands, settling of the weight into the right foot. But they'll play that for 5-10 minutes, and then they'll do the next. And hey, there goes the image. So at least we had it for a little while this morning. So I am going to read what the message is just to make sure that it's the same message it always is. Yes, it is. Sorry, we're having trouble playing this video. So if it's standard operating procedure, you can still see me. I have my little marker, so I know that I'm not cutting off my head here. So that's good. But anyway, play, really commit yourself to this single moment practice. That's not to say that single posture practice isn't a good choice either, because again, you pull something out, right? So you can find a walking exercise that gives you an opportunity to replay and replay a posture. But single posture, there's still a lot of extraneous stuff. Another one of my favorite moments is coming into the end of playing the pei pa. Now, again, maybe you haven't experienced the 24, or maybe you're not very far into it in whatever program you're in. But perhaps you've experienced a taste of the 24, which is something that we've done in the public forum, at free events, and we do also offer it as a particular class in some public venues. But the end of pei pa, if I'm settling into the end of the posture, I'm in what's known as a false stance or a single leg stance. So the weighted leg is out at a 45 again. The other leg is extended, but the knee is open, and the heel is resting on the ground, but ideally no weight, unless you need, I know what the other thing was now. No weight forward. Well, I think I do. No, I don't. Never mind. So the knee is bent, so I'm not overextended. And the hands, different people do this differently, but our position for pei pa are the hands are in prayer hands, middle fingers are aligned, lightly pressed together. And what happens is as if we're standing in prayer hands. If you start with the fingers up, this isn't how we get into pei pa, but it's how we introduce the end of posture moment. Turn those hands to the 45. Chest sunk back, rounded, shoulders dropped, elbows down. Slide the right hand a little bit closer to the body, the left hand a little bit farther away. But notice my middle fingers are still in alignment. My palms are still pressing into the same plane at my center line. And that's the end of posture. But to get into it, we talk about how the three heels drop together. And a lot of people get into it and they'll just do this. They'll move from the previous position and they'll just set the leg down and slide and move and swing the hands into position. That ain't it, right? Because from what we refer to as the Egyptian hieroglyphic moment, what happens, there's a little wave in the arms, you chamber the leg, and the three heels all drop and settle into place at the same time. And I mentioned Pei Pa earlier as one of those postures that only happens once in the 24. Happens a little bit more often in the long form. And its sibling is there in the long form as well, called lift hands and lean, where the heel doesn't touch the ground. But, this is one of those times that single moment, standing in one leg, might get a little bit much. So it doesn't hurt to switch to the other side. By the way, that's been one of our live sessions this spring and in this time of global pandemic. Play to the right. So it's important to sort of have that mix. So if it's going to be the right heel that's down at the end of that posture with the knee slightly bent, now that means that the right hand is farther away, the left hand is closer too. Again, prayer hands up, down, left hand slides closer to, right hand farther away, pressing into that center line. So again, you're playing with that idea of feeling moving into the three heels all drop. The three heels all drop together. It's finding connections like that will, when the video isn't functioning, then my screensaver kicks on. So I'll have to slide the mouse every once in a while. That's one of the things now. We don't participate in taiji tournaments, but it's my understanding that's one of the things for which judges in tournaments will look, is those kind of in moments. Now, what you also have to be aware of is there's still no stop, right? So from there, from the three heels dropping together, it immediately bounces into the next thing. From the three heels dropping together, it immediately bounces into the next thing. From the three heels all dropping together, it immediately bounces into the next thing. From the three heels, it immediately bounces into the next thing. From the three heels, it immediately bounces into the next thing. From the three heels, it immediately bounces into the next thing. Right? So you have to keep that in mind too. Sometimes when you drill a single moment, it can create a stop. So you also have to take time to erase that line that you've you've inserted into your play. So another thing that we emphasize that people might consider in their practice for a single moment practice is foot placement. Now, it can be as simple as determining your four stance step. And that's okay, Lawrence, okay, Laushi, I understand. I'm supposed to be shoulder wide, back foot's supposed to be at a 45, and I'm supposed to set that heel down at my shoulder width. But I'm having difficulty determining exactly where that is. Well, okay. Play with that a little bit. Maybe mark out your two lines with a little tape and then put an X where X does mark the spot. That's even more important probably to do at moments when we get into four stance in a way that's different than other times. So many people don't have, they eventually find that, that natural point where they can set that heel down where they're shoulder wide and they're not falling into the foot. But say it is a moment when you are stepping more or less backwards into a position. In the 24, I'm going to face away from the camera, right? And it's actually moving into the first fair lady. From Golden Rooster, we step more or less to the 45. The body opens up a little bit, come in. By the time the ball is formed, the foot is back, and I'm stepping the ball of the foot down first, dropping the heel, turning the back foot around, turning the front foot around, and I should end in four stance. Many people at the end of that first fair lady will be long and narrow, will be short and wide. So what you do, I'm going to actually get the tape this time, is figure out, okay, I'm going to practice that backward step. This is my four stance. Let's just say this is my four stance. This feels pretty good. We'll find out when I do the exercise itself. All right, so, oops. A little outside of my frame point reference there. So I put a heel where I want that, put a heel where I want that tape to end. No, I put a piece of tape where I want that heel to end. Then I put a piece of tape where I want this heel to be, and I move my foot before I put the piece of tape. So let's see. Boom, boom. Yeah, that's still pretty close. Maybe I should do that again just to make sure. Take that up. There we go. So that means now I have my heel taped in two places, because I have this challenge stepping into four stance. So that's where I want to step from my Golden Rooster. So I have that marker. And now I look and go, okay, where do I need to step the ball of the foot so the heel lands? Where do I need to step the ball of the foot so the heel lands? Where do I need to step the ball of the foot so the heel lands? And then feel what that's like. It shouldn't fall over. I'm looking down, so my structure is off, right? Eventually, we shouldn't have to look down. And now I sort of have a feeling of what how the body should feel in placing that foot. So I spend some time there getting that marker. Boom. Straight, sort of feeling. It's like, how does the quad feel? How do the hips and the glutes feel? What's my balance and my control like? What's that step? Where's the ball of the foot have to land? I may even add a piece of tape for the ball of the foot, so I make sure that that is right as well. And then I turn the back heel, turn the front heel, and hey, I'm in my four stance. So there are a lot of uses of single moment practice. Getting the 3 points of the tripod together in white crane. So it's not foot down and then arms. It's not arms out and then foot, sort of like Pei Pa in the 3 heels. Ball of the foot and hands, ball of the foot and hands. But again, you have to be careful of making it, see, I made it, and then the next thing. Oh, look, I got all 3 there at the same time, and then the next thing. They get there and they bounce into the next thing. So single moment practice is so essential to our development in our Tai Chi. And I think that's probably pretty good for this morning. It points you in a direction in which I wanted to send you. So there you go. Let's see what else is up. Good morning, Colette. Thanks for the compliment there, Steve. I hope it makes sense. Again, so many people just tend to focus on form and 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 form, or floor exercise, floor exercise, floor exercise, floor exercise. And by that, I mean a walking exercise of some sort. And yes, those things are both good. But as someone once said on the mat at Water Tiger School, sometimes I have to take it apart to get it together. And one of the ways of doing that is really truly committing to single moment practice, which is different than single posture practice. Again, both are good things to do, but they are, single posture practice, a little bit broader brush than single moment practice. So again, sorry for the glitch at the start. There's little I can do about things like that because I have, after we started having issues now and again with these live sessions, started doing a test run with whichever browser I'm doing. I'm planning on using it at 10 o'clock just to make sure that everything's fine. And this morning's test run it was about 9:35. Picture was clear, picture was there, audio was fine, there wasn't a glitch. And then I went live at 10 o'clock and the sound went all nutty. So that particular short glitchy video will disappear. I haven't done any of because, this was sort of an emergency restart. I haven't done any of the informational stuff that is on that one, but I will put it on this one when I get into editor mode after I say goodbye. So there's that. Remember, we're here. Oh, you're welcome, Colette. You're here. We are here on Mondays for the time being with Sachem now officially extending their suspension and cancellation of public classes through the month of August. So there's that. And also keep in mind, if you are a current member of the suspended Sachem Public Library program and you haven't heard of the little bonus thing that's out there, then drop a message via Facebook Messenger to either the Water Tiger School page or the Laoshi Lawrence McElroy page, or drop me an email and I'll send you the appropriate link for that. We're going to continue the YouTube videos also through August. Now, here's something about the YouTube videos. We launched the YouTube channel because I realized that there are folks who, participate in the Sachem program, participate in the West Babylon program, who are not on Facebook. So some of those YouTube programs may be rehashing some of the stuff we've done on Monday because there are people out there who are following us on the YouTube channel that are not following us on the Facebook channel. So anyway, there you go. And I think that's it. So we are, slowly on Long Island, in the state of New York, in the country of the United States of America, scheduled to move into phase 2. The New York State has 4 phases. So it's a slow slog. And we're hoping to see like the studio program itself reboot in some form of 3D, hopefully before the fall, but I can't promise that. And we'll just see. There might be a second and now perhaps even a third wave. We'll see how it goes. So wear a mask if you're outside, please, please, please. Continue washing your hands. Should have been doing that. It shouldn't have taken a pandemic to get us all, myself included. I shortchanged my hand washing before the onset of the novel coronavirus. I don't do that anymore. And keep listening to medical professionals and scientists as to what our next steps in this current unfolding should be. Take care, stay safe, breathe, and we'll catch you next time. So, ta.